Hello, educators. Welcome to Writer's Workshop, and welcome back if you've been here before. In these videos, I offer tutorials on ways you can offer more choice and voice in your writing curriculum. I'm a former secondary English language arts teacher of 20 years, and I'm a current teacher educator and professor at Oklahoma State University. And I've just pulled together some of my experiences and resources for you, dear teacher, just to support you in your writing curriculum. I know not every teacher has had a writing course, and quite a few teachers nowadays are emergency certified to help with this nationwide teacher shortage. So I'm just here to share these with you, and I look forward to hearing how you adapt them for your classroom. So today's video, we're going to talk about the publication party. So always there's this like nervousness that comes when a paper is due dates, like, yep, paper is due, you got to turn it in by midnight. First of all, never tell your students to turn things in at midnight. It sets up this terrible situation where everyone's up till all hours of the night doing their work when they should be resting or having family time or something like that. It's just not a smart thing to say midnight. It's very dramatic, but not really healthy. Instead, have your students work on all the writing during class, and on the day that you want it to be due, call it publication party. Publication party shifts the connotation of finishing something instead of for a grade or like high stakes or like they're going to get in trouble, but it's kind of acknowledging that may not be finished, but today we're going to publish it. I mean, always the writing can be tweaked a little bit more or changed here and there, but we've all been working on it together. And so today we're just going to celebrate where it's at, right? Some people will feel really great about it, and some will say, I still want to draft a little bit more, but you know what? The time has come to say it's good enough for now. And then you can move on to another piece of writing, maybe circle back to this one if you wish. But having a publication party is a way of just honoring. We're just going to decide today that we're going to just celebrate what we've done so far, right? Okay, so here's the publication party. Decide when students are ready, when most people have worked through the process pretty consistently or pretty thoroughly. And so whatever day you decide that's going to be, that's your publication party. I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's just say for a very short piece of writing, maybe 500 words or something, you do a 2-week writing unit. Maybe before you have to do that, Outsiders or Romeo and Juliet or something, you just need to have some really dedicated time to writing, okay? So let's just say it's 2 weeks. Monday, you introduce a new writing process. You say, okay, we're going to pick something from our notebook and we're going to take it through the writing process. We're going to take it to publication. Or you know what, today we're all going to work on a personal narrative or work on a how-to essay. So let's go into our notebooks and see what we have that we can work with, you know. On Tuesday, you look at mentor texts. So all of these different examples of how-to essays or short narrative pieces. So students get a sense of how this lives in the world. Mentor texts are so important. Then students gather ideas, try a few drafts, talk to each other about what seems interesting. Thursday, Friday, you're drafting. Friday, you do a little open mic to kind of test out a couple paragraphs here or there. The next week, teacher, you start doing some mini lessons, a little mini lesson on using headers for your how-to essay or including images to support the process. Students then do their peer review, which I talked about in the other video, a peer conference. Maybe the next day they're revisiting the mentor text to compare how their draft is looking to the ones that they really liked, like their touchstone texts. Maybe there's another mini lesson about compound sentences or using transitions like however or in comparison. And then students are still drafting, and then maybe they do another peer revision. Maybe they run it through Grammarly for some edits and copy edits. And then Friday is your publication party. Yay, what does that mean? Okay, so you have all these students going through the whole process. They worked really hard for 2 weeks. They deserve a celebration, right? And they just see how their writing lives in the world. So however you want to publish, whether you have a Google Classroom or a blog or actual paper, publication means it's now going to go out into the world for other people to enjoy. So let me move my face from the corner. Here we go. Okay, so we want to celebrate with the publication and not dramatic due dates. So the tone of it is really fun. Students are really excited. So I used to go to the local store, the local grocery store, and they would sell 50 cookies for $5. So I would get a tray of cookies. I don't know if that's allowed in your school. I would set up twinkle lights. And so it's a very celebratory atmosphere. We start the class with this very wonderful moment of publish, right? Read through your draft one more time and hit publish. Submit it on the Google Classroom, submit it to the kid blog, submit the link on a shared Google Doc or something. It's tape it up to the wall, publish, some way to say this is officially living in the world. It's not mine anymore. It becomes something new to the reader, right? Very symbolic moment. Prepare students how to comment on one another's. So if they're all hanging up on the wall, maybe they all get a sticky note and they have to write a specific comment. If they're in Google or digital format, they're going to write a note to one another. But I'm going to show you in just a second how to make sure these are celebratory. And again, kind of like the mirror point part, and not critical. This is not for students to judge. It's only for them to respond about how it resonates with them, how they understand it. Finally, just to make sure everyone gets a comment, make sure that you kind of have some kind of system for what to respond to. So if it's on a gallery, everyone starts in front of a paper and you do the next two. That way everyone gets a comment. If it's in a digital, maybe you respond to the one above and below your name, something like that. After students respond to one another, then you, the teacher, or during this whole process, you can actually do the grading. And I'm gonna show you how to do that in just a second. Here we go. Okay. Well, I'm going to skip this one and come back to it. Okay, here's the guide that I use for students when they write notes to each other during the publication party. So I usually project this on the screen, and then students use this when they're responding to each other, or if it's on the wall, they do it in a sticky note. So it's important to have like a dear so-and-so, like dear Julia. And then you can say, I can relate to the phrase what from, and then they extract a phrase. It's kind of like the pointing. They extract a phrase that they resonate with, or they could respond from a new way of thinking, the phrase that got me thinking, or they could respond to author's craft. So you see here, this is very much like the rhetorical triangle, ethos, pathos, logos, responding from the heart, responding from the mind, responding from a writer's perspective. So students can respond to use all three, or to just choose one, because if I'm reading your paper, I might just be moved very emotionally. So it's clearly, I'm going to respond using a sentence from pathos. If I think it's like hilarious, that's also emotional, but kind of clever, then I might respond to a vivid word or a clever line. So this is a framework that makes sure that the students are always supporting one another with their comments. So here's an example. We used Fan School or Kid Blog for our publication party. So here's a student publishing their writing onto Fan School. You can see there's a title, there's a form or mode, and then the student put in their peer conference video. So great. And then they put in their final draft here. So this is just part of it, okay? Now, the ending of it is kind of clever. I asked the students to put in some of the techniques or craft moves that they might want to draw attention to that would help like their reader notice some of the craft moves that they were doing. So you could see this writer was trying sensory language, allusion, asyndeton, oxymoron, anaphora, and alliteration as part of her craft. So this is just another thing that they can put in their publication. Okay, so now here's for the party part, the comments. So this student wrote, "Dear Sophia, the line that seemed the most insightful to me was when you said, a glimpse of hope, because this helps me understand that even though the main character is lost, she is ending up with hope, which I think is a good way to end the story and not have it be cliche." So this is a great example of a student responding. So kind of point, right? And celebration. Also, you might notice they're kind of making a claim, pointing to evidence, and offering reasoning. So this is kind of a reading standard too. So the students are publishing their writing, but the listeners and classmates are practicing their reading skills. So all these pieces of writing actually become mentor texts in your classroom. How cool is that? "Dear Sophia, I really, really love this piece. Out of all the genres of writing, I like the ones that are emotional, and you got this one right." So you can see this is much more pathos, right? "I could see that your piece was about some grief as the main character had lost her sister. It's really a sad topic, and I think you presented it well. I love the line, 'Oh, my sweet sister.' It emphasizes her sadness. The allusion to that Titanic was great as well and very descriptive." So they're talking to each other like writers, recognizing craft moves, recognizing how it impacts the reader. So cool. And one more. "Thank you for sharing your story. The line that seemed most powerful in my view was, 'It's over, I'm just gone,' because it really put into perspective that anything can change in a split second, which is a great impact on the finish of your piece. And it was a really great twist as well." Thank you, Isabel. Okay, so these are examples that students can do when they're reading one another's work, but the template of the commenting with care is really important because it helps make sure that the comments are framing on something really specific instead of students just saying, "Oh, it was really good." They're pointing to what was good. And again, the student's writer will then do more of what people appreciated and liked. So it really helps them continue to be, to develop their craft as writers. So thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. I hope that it was helpful in thinking about ways that you can celebrate student writing and making the due date a much more celebratory event. Please let me know how this goes in your classroom and if I can help you in any way. In the meantime, I hope you keep writing.